Hello everyone, Ryan here. This is my race report from the National Capital Tour held down in Canberra last weekend. And if you were expecting some action-packed, aggressive, tactical racing, well, I'm sorry to say that this was pretty much my view for the entire first stage, for 70 kilometers of it, because I got dropped super early. I clipped in at the very start of the race on the starting line, and by the time I got clipped in, the pack was 20 to 30 meters in front of me, and I started chasing, but because there was a massive tailwind at the start, I just could not match the 55 to 60 kilometer per hour kind of speeds the pack was doing, and I never ever got onto the back of the bunch. When I stopped about 10 kilometers later just to check my bike, it turned out my back brake had been rubbing against the wheel the whole time and slowing me down, so that was unfortunate. Maybe without that I would have got into the back of the bunch, but I think I still would have been shelled at some point during the 70 kilometer flat section of the course before the 3 kilometer climb up Mount Majura, because it was super windy, tailwind all the way down the course, like we are in this section now. We were doing 55 to 60 kilometers per hour, and then when we turned around at the bottom, we were doing 20 to 25 kilometers per hour into a massive headwind. And even though after I got dropped, I joined up with these two guys who had crashed, and I was just sitting on their wheels, like I barely even pulled a turn, and even then I was struggling to stay on. So I think even without the mechanical issue, I would have been shelled at some point during the race. So from then on, it was just a matter of trying to hang on and finish the course. I mean, I didn't even feel like finishing. I wanted to quit and just get off the bike, but I kept going. I figured, as the laps counted down, I figured I could just hang on for one more lap and one more lap. Here's Jarrell, my mate from Lidcombe Auburn Cycling Club. He got dropped too. As we headed up Mount Majura, I got passed by these A-graders, and you can see I was doing like 40 to 50 RPMs, 9 and 10 kilometers an hour, just trying to grind my way up this hill at the end of the race. I was really just spent. I had nothing left in the legs after 2.5 hours. But I did manage to finish and move on to stage 2, where I was hoping to have a better result. Stage 2 was held that same afternoon. It was a short 16 kilometer circuit race held on some of the same roads as stage 1, so it was still super windy, tailwind all the way out, headwind all the way back, and still hot, 30 degrees Celsius. Well, this time I stayed with a bunch at the start, so it was a lot better from that perspective, but with some super strong guys pulling at the front of the pack and me stuck at the back, I was doing sprints out of each of the corners at 300, 400, 500 watts just to stay in the wheel here. Here I'm in the wheel of Daniel Vanderland from Nero Racing, and it's tailwind and we're fast, but I still had to put in massive watts just to stay with the pack. And then here, each lap we'd go around this roundabout and I'd basically have to sprint just to stay in the wheels, so 700 watts there, just to keep with the pack. And then we'd get there and then we'd surge again, another 300 watts just to stay in the wheels. So people were getting shelled all the time, but I managed to stick with it, the bunch, until the last kilometer, really, which was a lot better than stage 1, to be honest, but I was super exhausted and the legs felt dead, especially after stage 1 that morning, so I really didn't feel like I had any chance of competing, but I managed to stay in the pack as we crossed this bridge with about 1.5 kilometers to go. I was here on the left hand side, sheltered from the wind, which was a lot better, a lot more positive than stage 1, where I got dropped pretty much at the very start of the race. Now you can see the pace has slowed down considerably, whether it's from the cross headwind here as we cross the bridge, or it's because the finish is coming up. And I found myself at the front of the bunch, but as we turn this corner onto the finishing straight of a few hundred meters, this was not the good position to be in, because I was taking the wind straight into my face and kind of on the left hand side as well. So for me, it was me struggling to hang on while we pushed into the headwind. here an attack goes from David Hampton. You can see he sprints down the right hand side of the road and launches early. The field responds and I'm going backwards. I just couldn't hold this kind of pace. I did not have the fitness or the strength to keep up with these guys, so you can see the pack roll away from me, and as best as I could not hold the wheel, and I just rolled in to finish behind the pack. So that was stage 2 done and dusted for me. Stage 3 was a criterium, held the next day out at Mount Stromlo, and it was still super windy. I had one plan going into this crit because I knew after stages 1 and 2 that I simply couldn't stay with the big hitters in C grade. If I tried to just sit in the pack, I'd get shelled eventually. So my one plan was to attack and just go for glory. So my plan was to attack on the very first lap. It might be suicidal, I might just blow up and get dropped, but if I was going to get dropped anyway, I might as well have my 30 seconds of fame off the front. So here I went in the headwind section, up the slight incline, and I just launched it down the left hand side here and got a gap, got away for a little bit, and yeah, well, you know, it was an all or nothing gamble. I didn't expect it to succeed. I didn't expect to stay away, but at least, you know, I get a little bit of time off the front, which was a nice feeling after being off the back for so many times. And as a bit of a bonus, I got this nice little photo. So yeah, it's worth it for the photo. So I stayed off the front for less than a lap actually. There's no way I could have held off the chasing bunch of guys that were so strong. So as I looked back and I saw I was about to get caught, I moved over to the right hand side here just to get a little bit of shelter in the cross headwind. But as you see, the pack will catch me, and I try to get into the slipstream, but they're just going so fast and I'm just so cooked. I'm at my limit, and rider after rider just goes past me one by one, and I try to get into the slipstream, but I just couldn't. I just kept dropping further and further back in the field, and from being at the very front of the race about 20 seconds ago, suddenly I'm pretty much at the back of the race, overtaken by everyone. So, you know, I just wasn't at the level of some of these guys who was way stronger than me. And every lap going around this corner at the bottom, they call it collarbone corner, because of if you hit a pedal here, you'll go down and break a collarbone. You can see I get gapped right away. 10-20 meters opens up on me just out of that corner, and I had to flick through a couple of guys who were behind me for them to close this gap, because I just didn't have the legs to close it. These guys going into a headwind were just so much stronger than me. They were just way too strong for me. And so I was trying to stick it out for a couple more laps and just hold into the bunch, but here you can see, going around this corner, this time I'm the very last wheel in the bunch, and the bunch is well strung out. And because I'm last wheel, here a gap's going to open up between me and this Subella rider. I think it's Jonathan Moore. And this time there's no one to come around me to close it for me. And I had that feeling again for the third time this weekend of getting dropped off the back of the bunch and watching the bunch ride away from me. The gap doesn't look like very much here, and I feel like you always feel like you can just about close it, but I was pushing as hard as I could on the limit, and the bunch just kept riding further and further away from me, and they just disappeared into the distance. And that was race done for me. That was the weekend done for me. The officials pulled me out of the course a few laps later, unfortunately, so I didn't even get to finish. But by that time I was just looking forward to going back to Sydney and having a few weeks off the bike to recover from what was just a brutal, tough weekend of racing. I still had fun though. It was a great weekend away, so thanks to the organisers for putting it on. I don't have any more racing planned for the rest of this year, but hopefully I'll be back next year with some more videos for you to enjoy. Thanks for watching.